All right, let's get into this. We're always told that wisdom is this big climb, right? A heroic journey up to some sunny mountain peak. But what if that's only half the story? What if the real profound truths aren't up there in the light, but down in the shadows? Today, we're taking a completely different path. This is an inverted journey, a descent, away from the easy answers and right into the heart of what's real.
So yeah, forget the glistening peaks for a minute. If you're tired of the climb, that's actually a good thing. The real work, the real story, begins when we turn around and start walking downhill. Let's go.
So our journey kicks off in a place that probably feels pretty familiar, a glistening city of stone. Think of it as a perfect metaphor for the world we all build around ourselves. This performative facade made up of rigid laws, social rituals, and just comfortable habits. It looks safe, it's all nicely structured, and on the surface, it's beautiful. But for our traveler, and maybe for you too, there's this growing feeling that something's just off. You can sense it. Beneath all that polish, there's a kind of decay, an internal rot that everybody's just agreed to ignore. And that summit that used to be the goal, now it just feels like a hollow monument to vanity. So here's the pivot point. The traveler makes a choice to leave the city, to ditch the climb, and to start a journey of unflinching investigation, straight into the shadows.
Okay, so as we walk out of that kingdom, we've got to understand what was holding its walls together in the first place. And it's not just one thing, it's actually two opposing forces that are somehow codependent, working together to maintain the structural integrity of this performative world.
On one hand, you've got Wooten the architect. He's basically the structural glue of society. He gives us the rigid laws, the debts we have to pay, the comfortable habits that keep the chaos and the void at a safe distance. But on the other hand, you have Mephistopheles the Negator. And he's the complete opposite. He's the stinging grit in the system. His whole job is to bring the fire of doubt, to create that necessary friction to test every single structure Wotan builds. It's the constant push and pull between these two that creates the world our traveler is now leaving behind. And this is where you really get the point of all this fire and doubt. It isn't just about destruction for destruction's sake. It's more like a purification process, a critical test for what's actually true. Any belief you have, any habit, any part of your identity that just crumbles and turns to ash in this fire, well, it was never really real to begin with, was it? It was just part of the performance. So, stripped of all those false certainties, where does our traveler end up next? They walk straight into the 10,000 hells. Now, hold on. Don't think of this as some place of fire and brimstone punishment. It's a landscape of confrontation. It's where you come face to face with every single truth that we in our society have collectively agreed to just look away from. The map for this part of the trip is something called the geometry of the grotesque. It's a psychological space where everything familiar is just tilted. It's made unhomely, just strange enough to be unsettling. And that distortion is the whole point. It's designed to reveal the hidden decay in all the things we take for granted. In this place, the shadows of the things we don't say are just as real, just as solid as the people walking next to us. And the main tool you have here is something called the uncanny mirror. I mean, imagine looking into a mirror and instead of your own face, you see the back of your head. It's such a brilliant metaphor, right? It totally removes any chance of an objective outside perspective. You are forced to witness your own internal rot, the parts you can't normally see, without the comfort of being an outside observer. You're trapped inside the very system you're trying to figure out. And why 10,000 hells? Because each one represents a specific unspoken truth, a time you chose comfort over honesty, a failure to act on something you knew was right. In this place, all the armor you wear, your job title, your social status, that carefully crafted identity, it all just dissolves into nothing. The only thing left is the raw, naked intention behind every mask we wear. After surviving the hells, the traveler is transformed. They're no longer just a seeker. They've become a witness. But this new role is tricky, it's disorienting, and to navigate it, you're going to need some new guides. Now, the purpose of being a witness isn't to become some new sun, a new source of absolute truth. No, the job is to be an honest bridge. The witness stands right in that tension between the pure light of awareness, let's call it the high star, and the chaotic, grinding friction of the dark pit. Their function is to refract that light, to bend it into the dark corners that direct, head-on awareness just can't reach. So who guides the witness? Two key archetypes show up. First, there's the jester, who really embodies that role of the honest bridge.
See, the gesture isn't the light itself, but the angle at which the light falls, revealing uncomfortable truths sideways through humor and absurdity. And then you have the imp. That's your inner voice. The imp is that nagging what if in the back of your head. It issues these little dares, not to be reckless, but to constantly remind you of your freedom, your sovereignty of choice, to make sure you never fall back into those old, rigid, unthinking patterns.
And that brings us to the climax of the whole journey, the final act. We're in the furnace of revelation now. This is where all those opposing forces we've met, the structure, the chaos, the light, finally get reconciled into something totally new, a profound kind of wisdom that can only be forged in fire. The result of all this is called the triple-tongued synthesis. And the key thing to get here is that it's not about choosing Wotan's order or Mephisto's chaos. It's about holding all three forces in a perfect dynamic tension. You need the anvil of Wotan's rigid structure, you need the hammer of Mephisto's stinging grit, and you need the glow of the High Star's light to see what you're doing. You need all three to forge a truly new, honest identity.
So inside this furnace, under all that immense pressure, the mask finally cracks. And here's the big revelation. This is not a failure. It's not a tragedy at all. That crack is the entire point of the journey. It's the opening that allows what's called the emerald light of reality, of true integrity, to finally shine through.
So where has our traveler finally arrived? They're in the lit room. And this isn't some physical place, it's a state of being. It's the arrival at the true thing. That primal, foundational honesty that exists underneath all the ceremony and all the performance. It's a state of just unflinching clarity. But it's not some finish line where you get to rest. It requires a vigil, a constant, sustained presence with the truth you've now uncovered.
And with that, the entire journey comes right back to you. The descent is complete. The masks are gone. You're standing in a place of absolute clarity, with no shadows left to hide in. You have arrived. So the only question left is, how will you choose to live in a lit room?